Hello all, this is Railway Stories 123 here, and this is the first in a series of videos in which I will answer the questions submitted to me on my Q&A announcement video. Now, before we get into it, I do want to take the time to apologise for the big delay. I made the announcement nearly a year ago now, and I've been putting it off mainly due to personal stuff or just legit laziness on my part, but I think I've put it off long enough, so let's not waste any more time. Here we go. So in this part of the video, I'll be answering questions regarding the official Thomas and Friends series. What was the first episode you ever saw? That's a really difficult question. I don't quite remember. I was, of course, very young when I first started watching the show. I think I talked about this before, but the first two VHSs I ever owned were Biggest Party Video Ever and Thomas, Percy and Nicole and Other Stories. The first stories from both VHSs were Percy, James and the Fruitful Day and Thomas, Percy and Nicole. I think those are the ones that particularly stick out for me, so yeah, it was one of the two. I can't really remember. What's your favourite season? That's a bit of a difficult question to answer as well. As you may know, I enjoyed the books immensely. Therefore, I've enjoyed the seasons that had Railway series stories in it. But if I had to pick one, I would say the first season. You know, for its time, it was a new era for children's television in terms of quality. And the fact that this season adapted the Railway series more closely than others is certainly a bonus for me. Favourite era? The classic era. I think everyone can agree with me there. What's your favourite episode? Okay, as much as I love the Railway series stories, I have to say Haunted Henry, hands down. It just nails that spooky and intense atmosphere. It's got drama in it and it's got really good dialogue as well. It makes you think about how much time the crew put on this episode, like the beautifully covered fog, soundtrack, etc. So yeah, Haunted Henry. That's my favourite. Who's your favourite character? The old iron himself, Edward. He was the first engine that Audrey created. He's wise, he's experienced, he's mature. Always the engine you go to for advice and keeps others in tow if they're young or misbehaving. He's the original engine that Wilbur told his son about when he was ill in bed. Edward holds a heavy weight in the whole series, the books, TV, etc. Not a lot of people see that, but I certainly do. What's your favourite location? I think the capital C of Sodor, Tidmouth. What's your favourite theme? Okay, I'm just going to be totally honest with you. Another reason that this Q&A has taken so long is because I really couldn't decide on a favourite theme. I've managed to narrow it down to the themes from the classic era. They're the ones that are the most memorable to me. Yeah, I can't tell you a specific one because I really don't know. What's your favourite song? Again, that's really hard to answer, and I would have to narrow it down to the songs from the classic era. What's your favourite special? Definitely Sodor's Legend of the Lost Treasure. This came out during the Brenner era, so it was at the point where fans were getting what they were hoping for. The returning characters, the score, the darker tone and the cinematography. This is closest to what a Thomas film should be. And yes, I include Magic Railroad in that. And the fact that they've incorporated some Railway series lore into it is just unbelievable. And John Hurt as Sailor John as the villain, there was never been a human villain before. And something about this makes him so powerful. And it's the only film where Thomas's personality are exactly what it should be. 100% a prick. And with the Fat Controller as well, his personality is just right here too. An authority figure that should not be reckoned with. The only thing that niggles me is the new character Ryan. Don't get me wrong, I like Ryan. Actually, I don't really like him, but even if I did, he's just a bit out of place here. I wish they actually went with what they were going to do and make him more confident and, I'll just say it, more prickish than Thomas. That would have made him a little bit more interesting. But that's the only thing. I love this film because it doesn't play down to kids. It was for the fans, old and new. What's your least favourite episode? I'd say my least favourite is season 23's Thomas Makes a Mistake. To me, this is the most generic, overused plot that we've seen for years when it comes to Thomas. One episode that comes into mind when it comes to this plot line is Who's Jeffrey? You know, Thomas creates an accident, covers it up, escalates to the point where Thomas has to tell the truth. I mean, I get the moral, it's better to ask for help when you get things wrong, but they've already done it. So there's no need for children to learn this lesson again. Plus, the fantasy sequence is another redundant moment they've chewed up the running time with. So yeah, worst one in my opinion. Who's your least favourite character? Flora. Who is she, you may ask? Well, that's exactly my point. She showed up in one episode, and even that she was literally useless. Then it's never heard from again. What's your least favourite location? The Walking Bridge. The concept for it was just so absurd and sci-fi and so out of place, and it was just not at all practical and realistic about it. I mean, if a whole train of coaches or trucks or goes on there, you're done for. What's your least favourite theme? Same answer with the favourite theme. I can't decide, but I've narrowed it down to the themes from the CGI era. They're just too forgettable. What's your least favourite season? Seasons, plural, the Brother era. They just suck. I could go on for a full hour about what I think about it, but I'm not going to waste my breath. You already know. What's your least favourite special? Misty Island Rescue, hands down. It's absolute garbage and nonsensical. The film starts on average with the opening shot, then it just gets worse from there. Everyone in it is annoying, and the plot is stupid, the dialogue is degrading, and the morals. What's bad about that? Well, there were no morals. Literally, what were we supposed to have learned from this film? Thomas is a dick and has no repercussions whatsoever. Is that it? Is that what the moral is supposed to be? Hi kids, just remember it's okay to act foolish and nasty and even just borderline racist at one point, not to mention putting your friends through a near-death experience, as long as it works out for you in the end. Also, the rescue centre played no part in it whatsoever. The Diesel subplot went nowhere and ended as fast as it started. And yeah, I won't even talk about the Logan Locos. Okay, I will. They were annoying, moronic, bad role models, unpopular, in and out of the universe, poorly developed, and I hate them. But that's just my opinion. What are your thoughts on All Engines Go? Okay, here it goes. I have not seen All Engines Go yet. I can't bear to put myself through a dumbed down, shitty reboot of one of my all-time favourite children's characters. Maybe I'll consider watching and recording my reaction for you guys in the future, because God knows I'll definitely have a reaction to it. But as of right now, nah, I haven't seen it. Sorry. What are your thoughts on Thomas and the Magic Railroad? See, that's a difficult one for me, because I was nearly 2 years old when this film came out in cinemas. Don't get me wrong, I get where everyone is coming from. The plot is like watching the children's version of Memento. The concept of magic is introduced when one of the reasons kids were drawn to the TV series so much in the first place was due to its realism, and Thomas, not just because he's only in 12 minutes of the film when you put it all together, but because, I'm just going to say it, Thomas is completely irrelevant to the story. Seriously, if you were to take him, the other engines on SODOR out, and basically the whole of the island of SODOR out of the film, it wouldn't change anything to the plot. If they had just come up with some generic magic railway and not SODOR, it would be exactly the same. But it just feels wrong to call it a bad film. One, for the sense of nostalgia I get from it when I watch it. And two, it was Britt Allcoff's passion project. And let me tell you something. I'm in the film business. And film is like art to me. And to me, art is expressing yourself in the way that words cannot. The film was about how Britt saw Thomas, not how others saw Thomas. She saw Thomas and the island of SODOR as magical. You want to make a film that you know others will enjoy? That's fine. You want to make a passion project and don't care what anyone else thinks? That's fine too. So, I can't fault Britt for making this project because it will go against everything I've worked towards. And that's why I'm saying I like this film. Sorry to anyone that hated The Magic Railroad, especially the work print cut that we got a few years back, but that's just how I feel. Sorry. What are your thoughts on the Mark Forster film? I'd have to wait and see it when it comes out, but it sounds promising so far. For those of you who don't know, he's directed films like Finding Neverland, James Bond's Quantum of Solace, World War Z, and most recently, Christopher Robin. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of film this is. TV show or railway series? I think my name gives it away. Definitely railway series. Who's your favourite narrator? Considering where I come from, I might be a bit biased here, but I'd have to say Michael Angelis. I just grew up mostly hearing his voice. What's your favourite funny saying from a character? Ooh, I don't really like the ones that were used over and over again, like cinders and ashes or bust my buffers. You know, they were used over and over again, so it kind of wears out in time. I like the things that Duncan said in Home at Last, you know, I'm a plain speaking engine and I speak as I find it. Tunnels should be tunnels and not rabbit holes. But my all-time favourite is when Duncan comes home and the Fat Controller says, listen to me, there's nothing wrong with that tunnel. You got stuck in it because you tried to do rock and roll. Tunnels are not dance floors and you are not a pop star. If it happens again, I shall find ways to cut you down to size. In other words, your career is on the line. Need I say more? So yeah, those ones are just very funny to me, and I think it's the funniest out of the whole TV series, to be honest. If you were to write your own TNF episode, what would it be about? I'm not really sure. I've definitely thought about writing some free-to-adapt stories and make it so it fits into the Railway series lore. If that's something you guys want to see, please leave me a comment down below and I might get down to writing it and put it on Twitter or something, if that's something you lot want to see. If you could pick a real locomotive to be a Thomas and Friends character, what would it be? That's an interesting question. I think it would have to come down to a British steam engine. I'm British, so it only seems fair. I would try to pick one that looks and seems unique, like the NNER Class W1, also known as the Hush Hush due to its secrecy. Yeah, I choose that one. That's all I got for that character at the moment, so do with that what you will. Where would you live on the island of Sodor? My answer used to be Hackenbeck because I always found that a small, quiet location up by Thomas's branch line to be perfect for me to live by. But recently I've kind of changed my mind about that. Now, my favourite place to live at would be, and I realise this is really, really random, Craigweir. I apologise if I butchered that, but yeah, Craigweir. For those who don't know, it's a village north of Sodor near the Caldy Fell mountain. It's got a nice lake by it named Loy Macan, so named from the fact patron saint St Macan baptised in the lake during the 6th century. So yeah, Craigweir. I bet not many of you people have heard of it, but that's where I'd like to live. I bet none of you would ever get to guess that, will you? Do you hate the diesels? No, I don't hate diesels, but I much prefer steam trains. They just have that charm to them. They have their own unique personality. Most of the diesels are in the same class as each other. You know, Diesel, Splatter, Dodge, Arry, Burt, Paxton, Sydney. All of them are British Railways Class 08. Duck or Oliver? Oliver. He just has a more interesting background than Duck has. Are you a true Thomas fan? It depends what you mean by that. I try to keep up with what's going on as much as I can. I mean, you guys certainly play a big part in that. I haven't watched All Engines Go yet, like I said, but I've read all of the Railway series books. So yeah, it all depends what you mean by true Thomas fan. Who is your favourite Diesel character? Either Mavis, because she's the only Diesel I know with the most character development, or Dennis, because he's just a funny design. Who's your favourite non-rail character? George. Of all the non-rail characters, I think about it the most. Who's your favourite human character? The Fat Controller. Yeah, I think he's the most obvious one. Who's your favourite underrated character? I think I'd have to say Rusty. I think it's because Britt Allcroft decided to make them non-binary, and when I first heard about that, I started to realise, I never even noticed that before. And then I look back and it's a clever touch. You know, I'm glad that she decided to make that change, and it's a good one. If you could rewrite one episode, which one would it be and how? I have to say A Surprise for Percy, but replace Percy with Mavis. You know, after seeing the Season 5 rushes, I was so intrigued with the idea. How? I'm not sure there's much to be done. You know, replace Percy with Mavis, the Colden plant with the Farquhar quarry, and that's really it. Like I said, not much to it. Do you have any pieces of fan work you like? I like a lot of the fan work that everyone does, but the ones that really stick out for me the most is the Magic Railroad parody and Project Tiger Moth. No disrespect to anything else, but to have your projects trending on Twitter just says it all. Mind you, I'll probably change my mind when an unlikely fandom comes out. What's your most unpopular opinion? There's only one good thing about Wubber, and that's the added detail to the designs of the engines. It just makes them more realistic. Who's your favourite Hit era character? Rosie, I think. And last question before we end the video. Who's your favourite CGI character? I'd have to say Judy and Jerome, the breakdown cranes. And that's it for this part of the video. Give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed it. Please join me next time as I answer your questions regarding the Railway series. Thanks for watching, everyone. Ta-da!